Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to Plant Fit Meg. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about vegan fears and some issues and concerns and fears that people have when they first go vegan, or they're considering whether or not they want to go vegan, or whether they even want to label themselves with the vegan label. I want to reassure you that these fears are pretty common and they come up with my clients. But they're absolutely things that can be worked through and figured out, and you can make it work as a plant-based eater and as a vegan. So let's jump right in. The first fear or big concern that I hear about often is that it's going to be too hard, it's going to be too complicated, and just generally too much of a fuss and too difficult to go vegan. I would say that there is a little tiny kernel of truth to this, that it is a little bit more difficult to be vegan than to not be vegan, because we live in an environment and in an atmosphere that is not always super vegan friendly. But that being said, you can really make the diet as easy or as complicated as you want. And a lot of the same foods that you make now, you can easily make vegan versions of, or find commercially available vegan products, vegan substitutions, alternatives. I went vegan 9 years ago, and even in that time, there has just been an explosion of plant-based products. So it's easier now than ever to go vegan and embark on a plant-based diet. You do need to be a little bit careful with reading labels and with maybe scoping out menus before you go out to eat, especially if you live in an area that doesn't have vegan or vegetarian restaurants. It might feel a little bit cumbersome in the beginning and a little uncomfortable, especially if you're, let's say, out at a restaurant. I'll speak for myself. When I first went vegan and initially would go out to restaurants, I did find it a little uncomfortable sometimes to ask what is vegan and what is available, especially if it wasn't delineated clearly on the menu. But 9 times out of 10, people are amazing, they're really helpful, and as long as you're kind and you're just asking for information, they're usually great to check in on the ingredients in the kitchen, check in with the chef, and let you know what on the menu is already vegan or what can be made vegan by maybe just taking off the cheese or just eliminating or substituting an item. And beyond food, in the world of cosmetics and hygiene and household products, same thing goes. There are so many options nowadays that it's easier than ever to go vegan and live a vegan lifestyle. And if you're not perfect and you make a mistake, that's okay too. There are no vegan police. No one's gonna come and steal your vegan membership card. That is not a thing. It doesn't exist. If you make a mistake and you purchase a product that happens to not be vegan, return it if you can, and otherwise just use it up, learn from the mistake, and carry on. Next common fear or concern with going vegan is, what am I going to eat? And so it can be really intimidating in the start to figure out what you're going to eat and how you're going to put your meals together, because if your plate has always been a meat product with just a little bit of vegetables on the side, we sort of envision our plates looking empty and just those little sad bit of vegetables on the side, and it seems like, what are we gonna eat? The truth is that many animal products have vegan items that replicate them. They might not taste exactly the same, they might not be exactly the same texture, but oftentimes they do give a really similar flavor, a really similar vibe, and you can also find new favorites that you love. Before I went vegan, there was a long list of foods that I did not like and that I stayed away from, including vegetables, beans, tofu. I had never even heard of tempeh or nutritional yeast or textured vegetable protein. So after I went vegan and I started experimenting more, and I started eating lentils and eating beans and experimenting with these different ingredients and new items that they were new to me. I had never heard of them or used them before. Like tempeh, I had no idea what it was. And initially I kept it super simple, and I was all about the convenience factor and just being in and out of the kitchen as quickly as possible. And sometimes I'm still like that to this day, making easy things like pastas and stir fries and curries and soups and stews and chilies, salads, sandwiches, burritos, tacos, the list goes on. But almost anything that you can enjoy as an animal product or something that contains animal products, you can find a vegan version of. Google is your friend, and so enjoy the adventure of figuring out what to eat, what foods you enjoy, which foods you prefer, and exploring all sorts of different new things that you might have never tried before. The next fear, another diet-related one, is nutritional deficiencies. When you go vegan, oftentimes one of the first questions you'll get asked is,
where do you get your protein?
And the answer is really simple. You get your protein from plants. But it can be intimidating to have people questioning, where do you get your calcium? Where do you get this nutrient? Where do you get this vitamin from? So rest assured that it is 100% possible to enjoy a well-planned vegan diet and meet all of your nutritional requirements. The American Dietetic Association put out a statement paper about that. I'll link it below so you can check it out. But as long as you're eating a variety of plant foods, you're very likely to be meeting most of your nutritional requirements. A couple of exceptions there are B12, which really should be supplemented. And in the case of people who eat animals, they get the supplementation secondhand because oftentimes the animals are supplemented with B12, and so you're still getting B12 supplementation. It's just through animal flesh rather than just taking the supplement directly. Vitamin D can also be an issue for vegans and omnivores alike. It's the sunshine vitamin, so if you don't get out much or if you live in an area that is not super sunny, a vitamin D supplement can be helpful. Some people also like to take an omega-3 supplement. Omega-3 fats can be found in flaxseed, hemp seeds, chia seeds, walnuts. But if you don't eat those foods daily, it might be a good idea to take a supplement just to cover your bases. And some people just prefer to take a vegan multivitamin to basically cover their bases with anything that might be lacking in the diet. And omnivores do that too. In terms of protein, it's likely that you're getting enough protein with your vegan diet as long as it's varied. You're eating greens and beans and grains and a variety of different plant foods. I do have a couple of videos all about protein, so I will link them below. One was an interview with the lovely dietitian Visanto Molina, and one is a video that I put together, a compilation of information about protein. So check those out if you want more information about protein. As long as the diet is varied and well planned and diverse, you should have all your bases covered. You can always track what you're eating for a day or two to see where you're at in terms of your macronutrients and your micronutrients. You could use something like Chronometer or something like MyFitnessPal to see where you're at. If your plate often looks something like this, then your bases are well covered. And if you are really concerned, you could always touch base with a dietitian or a doctor just to confirm that you're on the right path. The next couple of fears are more social ones rather than diet and lifestyle based. So one concern is that you'll get made fun of or you'll get hate. And unfortunately, this can be true. This can be an issue depending on who you're surrounding yourself with, who your colleagues are, who your family members are, who the people in your community and the people you interact with, what they're like and what they're open to or not open to. So it is possible that you might get made fun of or you might catch some hate for going vegan, unfortunately. But I think it's way more important to go with your values and really follow your heart and follow what you think is right and what you think is going to be best for you, for the animals, for the environment, for your health, rather than listening to someone who's going to tease you for making a choice that you're really happy with and excited about. So consider the source. Sometimes it can be really challenging if that person is someone close to you. And so I think trying to have open communication, trying to explain to them why you're doing what you're doing, and also just keeping it really light. Like, hey, this is something I'm trying out. This is something that I just want to give it a go for a while and see how I feel and see how it goes, sometimes can go over a little better than being really heavy-handed with it. Do your best to create boundaries around what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept from people. In certain instances, maybe you're okay with a little bit of playful teasing. You know, if it's coming from a good place, it's coming from a place of caring and just a little gentle banter, maybe you're okay with. But if someone close to you says something that is really offensive or really upsetting, I think it's important to shut that down, talk about it, figure it out, throw up a boundary, and figure it out. And sometimes we think that it's going to be a huge deal. We're going to tell people we're going vegan. We're going to tell people we're eating a plant-based diet. People are going to freak out. And then sometimes it's just very anticlimactic. No one really cares. No one has any great opinion about it, or it's just, oh, okay. And then you carry on and you talk about whatever else you have in common or whatever else is going on. So it can go in the direction of getting some teasing and some hate, but it can also just be fairly easy and fairly comfortable. So know your audience and do your best to stick to what is in your heart and mind and what you truly want to do and what's important to you, and not allow other people to sway you one way or the other. Another fear that can come up for vegans, especially new vegans, can be putting the vegan label on yourself and being concerned about being associated with vegans who are maybe a little bit more extreme, or vegan activists that can be really in your face, and being concerned about the perception of sort of the stereotypical vegan and the assumption that vegans are very judgmental and will be very harsh with you and judge you very harshly for eating animals. I had this concern a little bit when I first went vegan, but I also felt so strongly about it that it didn't hugely bother me, and I also knew myself well enough to know that I'm not someone who is super judgmental or super extreme or really, really into activism in that way. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a place for it, and I think those people do important work, and they do snap some people to attention, and it can be helpful in certain instances. But I think for the most part, most vegans I've interacted with are actually hugely compassionate, gentle, kind, accepting, lovely human beings. Of course, they want more people to go vegan and save animals and help the environment and help people with their health. But many, many vegans do it in a very compassionate, kind way. And the other thing to remember is that people who are vegan, oftentimes they weren't born vegan. It's not like they've been born and raised vegan their entire life. Those people exist, but they're few and far between. So most of the time, if you're speaking to someone who is vegan, they were at one time not vegan, right? So I think that's something important to remember, that they're not some kind of person who has no connection to eating meat or to eating dairy and eggs and all of these things. They've just made a decision to go in a different way and to minimize the harm to animals and the environment. There's room for everyone in the vegan movement, and I think that the more voices that we have and the more different personalities and the more diversity and just more people who join in and say, yeah, I'm vegan and this is the way I live and this is what I eat and this is how I do it, the more voices that contribute to the movement, the better. It's helpful to see different people who do things in different ways, who come at it from different angles, who got started for health reasons, who got started because of animals, who got started because of the environment. And then everyone sort of ends up coming together in certain ways, still being different and individuals, but also having this common goal of reducing animal suffering and of living a cruelty-free lifestyle. The other thing with labels is that labels are only helpful if they help you. And if they are useful to you, great, use them. Call yourself a vegan or call yourself a plant-based eater or whatever feels comfortable to you. And if you're not quite ready for that or you're not quite comfortable with it, that's okay too. You don't have to use the vegan label. You don't have to use labels if they don't quite fit or don't quite work for you. I thought this was a good time to make this video as we're right into Veganuary and people doing the 30-day challenge to go vegan for the month and see how it feels, see how it goes, see how easy and fun it can be. I'll leave a bunch of links below so you can check out some of my other videos and check out other resources to help you on your vegan journey. I know the only thing I regret with going vegan is honestly that I didn't do it sooner and that I didn't know it was really an option and I didn't have a full awareness of it until I did in 2016 and I made the decision to make the switch. As always, thank you so much for watching, especially if you're watching right through until the end of the video. I really appreciate you. Throw your thoughts on this topic in the comment section below. If you're already vegan, did you have some fears and concerns and run into some issues when you were getting started? Or if you're thinking about going vegan, do you have some concerns that I identified in this video that you connected with, or do you have other fears or issues coming up that I didn't mention? I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below and continue the conversation. I'd love it if you'd stick around and take a look at some other videos on the channel. As I mentioned, I'll leave a bunch of links below that you can check out, including my How to Go Vegan, How to Go Plant-Based playlist. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!